17 ways to ruin your website and how to avoid them, because we don't really want to ruin our website. These are more cautions for people so that you don't ruin your website. So again, I'm Michael Dane, so that's Dane like a Great Dane if you're wondering how to pronounce that. And I've written a few marketing books, been a marketing professor, and these are some of the people I've worked with. So you could say, why is this guy talking to us? Well, I've done a couple things, so I've picked up a few things here and there. And then I have my newest book is actually called Elements of a Great Website, how to design your site to get more customers. So after we go through this presentation, it's like, well, I know what not to do, but what do I do? So this book really goes through, page by page, your home page, what should be on there, your about page, what you should actually have on an about page, and things like that, step by step. So just at the beginning, I want to make it clear that this presentation is for business-oriented websites. So the goal of a website is to clearly communicate your call to action. So I like this example here of Las Vegas. If you're trying to find your way around in Las Vegas and navigate, you didn't have GPS or anything, and all you had were the lights and the signs of Vegas, it could be a little hard to know what is what, where is where, how to get where you're trying to go. And I also found out the hard way when it was 110 degrees outside with my family. It's like, oh, the Hershey store is right next door. Let's just walk down there. We don't need an Uber. Well, it's a lot farther than you would think when you're actually walking in Vegas. So we want to be more like this with our websites, particularly a business-oriented website where we're clear with their information. So some people are like, I want it to pop. That seems a little boring. Well, the goal is to get people where you want them to be, and that's particularly to some kind of call to action. I liken it to like a cable guide or like a streaming TV guide. When you're looking for what you want to watch, to have some kind of grid with the titles and the time that things are on, that's what you need to find the information, the show that you're looking for. Now, once you click on one of those listings, you can see explosions, you can see cowboys and westerns, you can see all kinds of stuff, but you need to find it first. So that's kind of the idea with our website, how to create the navigation and make it so people can find what they're looking for. The way I put it, for most business websites, boring is better. And the reason is we really want to get people to that call to action. So what's a call to action? It's just, what do you want people to do on your website? I asked people, if people only did one thing when they came to your website, what would it be? And I get answers like, well, I want them to watch my video. I want them to read this explanation and learn more. But that doesn't make you money on your website. Now, those things might get people to that call to action, having a video or something like that. But really, the purpose of your website is to make money. That's how you stay in business. So you might have some of those tools, but that isn't what's going to get people. That's not going to pay the bills, essentially. So having a clear call to action is the most important thing on your website. So you can see, this is my website. So the first thing I say is what I do. I make custom websites and email campaigns. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to get a free website makeover. That's my call to action, because I don't sell a product directly, but I have to have that first initial meeting with you. So, and a lot of people, if you're in the service industry, the call to action is going to be to have some kind of meeting or to work with you. So you can see this is my home page. I don't have a lot of pictures. I don't have a picture at the top because you want to kind of have this thing first. It's like going to Target. You have a cart full of stuff and you go into checkout and people say, wait, you got to watch a commercial before we're going to let you buy that stuff. It's like, no, you kind of want to get out of people's way. If they're ready to make that connection with me, I don't want to get in their way. But not everybody's going to be ready for that. So that's where the sales copy starts to come in. And this is where I start to try to convince you that you should work with me. And you can see if you look down the page, these red boxes stand out. That's just call to actions at each section. And those call to actions are actually all going to the same place. and actually do a little bit different wording on each call to action as well. But ultimately, it's all going to the same thing. So you might say, Michael, I can't even read what that says, but you know where to click, right? If you just scan that page, maybe you don't even speak English. You know where you're supposed to click on the page. So when you have that call to action, it needs to stand out from the rest of your site. Even the color of the button, I've done a lot of research on that, and some people say, don't use a red call to action. That means stop. Well, when it comes to these kind of buttons, the most important thing is that they stand out, that they're high contrast from the rest of your site design. So the color doesn't really matter. You want to pick something that fits in with your color palette, but also make it stand out from the rest of your site. And it's also part of why, if you look at my site, it's grayscale. It's not really jumping out at you, but part of that is because I use it to kind of show my clients this is the important thing, to have those buttons and to have them stand out. So if you only remember one thing from this presentation, remember you need to have a clear call to action for your website, and it should be a button. So this is something similar. It's learn more. So obviously that is a call to action, but all that I just talked about, learning more is not really the point of your website. What you want them to do is to book that appointment or meeting or buy a product. Learning more is not really the point of your website. So you want to be careful not to have these kind of buttons, call to action buttons, that are to learn more, because they're competing with their main call to action, the important one, the one that makes you money. So obviously there's going to be times when you're going to put a link or something to go to a different part of your site, and that's fine. But I recommend using some type of just a regular hyperlink in your text. Don't make it a button. The button should be reserved for your main call to action for your business. So this is another way to ruin your website. Call it rainbow fever. Now this is a real website if I found. I know it's a little bit extreme, but the idea is just be really careful with your colors. Don't overwhelm people with colors. Make sure you're picking a palette that works. You can see my palette's very simple, but it's grayscale with a little pop of red. So just make sure you're choosing a few colors, or work with a designer that can give you a color palette. You can even Google different color palettes. And of course, different palettes are better for different industries. So like if you're nature or environmental, like some green color palettes, or blue is known for authority. So colors really do matter whether we think about it or not. Like we talked about the road sign earlier, it was green, that's a direction. Yellow is caution, red is stop. So the colors you use on your website are really important, and it also just shows a level of professionalism and that people can trust you. I will take questions at the end. I call this one the burglar. It has to do with having a website that is secure. So you might have seen an error like this. They kind of change over time, and different browsers will give you different kind of error messages, caution messages. And what this is saying is the site's not secure. So this little HTTPS is like, no, you need the little S on the end. And that shows that your site is secure. So the problem is, if your site is not secure, you haven't built it that way, or you haven't paid for that security license, people are going to get this message when they try to come to your website. That's a problem. Even if they say, hey, okay, I know them, I want to go to their site, this is telling people your site's not secure. Even if they click through to your website, it's telling them don't share any information with you, don't buy anything. So this isn't really the kind of message you want to have popping up before people reach your website. And also, if it's your website and you've built it, you've been there before, there's a good chance that you're not going to see this message. It's going to be for new people that have not been to your website yet. So just because you don't see the site when you type in your address doesn't mean other people won't. So the only way you can know is if it has a little S on the end. And I believe Chrome.2 has like a little lock that they put up there. So here's an example: cybersecurity brain, secure your business, security awareness. Of course, they've got the great learn more call to action. But the real problem with this site is it's not secure. And it says it right there in the browser. So personally, I don't think I'd want to hire this company, security company, that does not have a secure website. All right, the next way to ruin your website is to go plain label. So this logo is actually for WordPress. So if you don't put your own little icon into your website, and it's a WordPress website, that's what's going to show up. So this little icon is actually called a favicon, which I assume is like favorite icon put together. And that's just part of your branding. And I'm sure you've noticed if you look in your browser tabs, or if you're on your computer right now, different browser tabs will have the logo connected to that business. So, okay. I'm sorry, this little message popped up there. I don't know if you guys can see that. So for my site, I know I've blown this up a little bit, but in the tab, it actually has my logo in there. And that's also something that's going to show up in search results. So it's pretty simple to do. It's just a matter of paying attention to the details on your site when you're building it. When you have someone building a site for you, make sure that they're adding your logo there so that looks professional and is in line with your branding. You've probably seen it too if you send a text or SMS, that the logo is going to show up with the link that you're sharing with people. Okay, busy background. Again, these are real sites. These are real sites that I found. Mama's Cheesies, handmade clothing and accessories. This is actually easier to read because I put a little background behind it. But here there's, I don't know if you guys can even see it, there's white text on this really busy background. It's really unusable. So the lesson for you, I don't think you would actually put this on your website. Just be careful with your backgrounds. Again, we're focused on business type websites. So making the information clear, easy to read is the #1 priority. Even be careful with the kind of colors you use, even if it's not a design background, just that you have easy to read content and colors. And also I'd say be careful with putting any kind of writing over images, whether it's standalone pictures or pictures in the background. It tends to cause problems, and we're going to talk about too how mobile devices might change things around too. So I've seen like pictures of children with they put copy on, maybe it was on their chest when they started, but as things move around, it's over their face. So in general, I try to keep the copy separate from the images to avoid those kind of problems. Okay, the fine print. This is just about being careful with the kind of font and the size of the font that you use. So like it's pretty small over here on this page. The title font is great. That's easy to read. This is like a section title, and then the paragraph copy starts to get pretty small and hard to read. So I'm going to ask a question. You can unmute and just kind of answer this, but this is something I commonly do. I tell people to make their font size larger. The reason is people like me, getting older, it's harder to read, period. But even if you're young and you have good eyes, it's easier to read larger type. So you're going to be more comfortable and have a better experience reading larger type. So for like the normal paragraph font, what size do you think is recommended? What's the ideal size for, so this size right here, the paragraph font?
11.
What do you think, Nancy Ann? 11?
I was going to say larger. I was going to say 24 to 30.
24 to 30, okay. Angelia, what did you say, 11?
Yes.
Okay. Well, actually, Nancy, you're right on. 24 point. Again, you probably don't see that all the time. Probably see it, less
It looks like 11 to me.
What is that one, Michael, to the left? That That one
Yeah.
that you, what is
This
that one? It looks too,
this is 11 right here.
oh,
This one, I mean, comparatively, it looks like it's probably 7.
ugh.
Hmm.
Yeah, so very hard to read. And again, I get a lot of pushback from people on this because it looks different to them when I'm designing their site. They're like, well, other sites don't look like that. The type looks large. I'm like, yeah, because I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to help you out and make you a site that's easy to use and people are comfortable and they're going to want to buy from you is the ultimate objective.
Hmm.
All right, thanks for answering that one. Okay, so another way to ruin your website is to make it not accessible. And this has become kind of a big issue lately. I started hearing about it a few years ago, and to be honest, I kind of struggled because it's very difficult to make a website accessible. And even for me, like I'm building it the right way, but once you start adding content or you start having visitors coming with different disabilities, it's hard to know how they're going to be able to interact with your website. So the idea of this is just to make your website ADA accessible. So Americans with Disabilities Act means because websites are considered public spaces, just like a bathroom at a restaurant, there's rules around that now. They have to be accessible. So there's 3 reasons why you should make your website ADA accessible. Number 1 is so that people with disabilities can actually use your website. So it's really just the right thing to do that you can make it accessible for everyone. Secondly, it broadens your potential audience in 2 ways. Obviously, for those people with disabilities, they're able to see your website when they wouldn't otherwise. And it also makes the website more SEO friendly, meaning Google's going to like your website better if it's accessible. And then thirdly, it's the law. So you are at risk of legal action if your website is not ADA accessible. So you want to be careful about that. And California too, California is even stricter and has laws that are beyond the federal laws, particularly for websites. And there's been more cases of people being sued. And it's typically smaller businesses that they don't know, or the person that built their site or they built it themselves. So they're more at risk for legal action. So what do you do to make it accessible? You need something like this. It's an access widget or a tool. You probably start to see this little guy here floating around on websites more and more. And like I said, it's almost impossible to do something like this without one of these widgets, because you can see, depending on your disability, you're going to need to change different things. So seizure safe, vision impaired, like you can't really build that in ahead of time. You need a tool like this that's going to be able to change things on your website for people that are visiting it that have disabilities. So there are a lot of free tools like this out there. But again, from my understanding, you need to be careful with that, because the free tools, from my understanding, don't do everything they're supposed to do. Unlike this tool, then the company I work with is a paid service, so you should be covered. And the risk is, if you're going to use one of those free tools, you're showing that you are aware that your website's supposed to be accessible. But if you're providing a tool that doesn't work right, you're really putting yourself at risk. And you're almost attracting people that will want to sue you because that's evidence that you knew that you needed to do something, but you didn't take the proper measures, or you didn't want to pay for a paid tool. So if this is something you're concerned about, I can help you out with that later. I can also do a free audit of websites, and it'll tell you if it's ADA friendly. So this one's called the search party. So that's Nancy Drew. Some of you might recognize. I kind of grew up with watching Nancy Drew Mysteries and things, and this like that came out in like the 30s, 1930s, and I know they've still been making TV shows and books up till a few years ago. So I'm not that old, not that much of a boomer. This is still relevant. Search party just means having some kind of search box on your website. It sounds simple, but it's something that people overlook. So ideally, the navigation for your website is easy. People can find what they're looking for because you've designed it well, but you never know. So you want to have that search box, or for me, my website has a few thousand pages, a lot of blog posts. So if someone's looking for maybe email marketing or website design, it might be easier for them to use a search box to see all those articles come up together. So again, just something pretty simple. If you know what you're doing or working with someone, just make sure that you're going to add a search function. Mobile schmobile, kind of mentioned this earlier. So not taking mobile seriously, which I think is becoming less and less a problem. People realize that mobile traffic is increasing. It's over half of all web traffic is mobile. That's not just phones, it's also tablets and even watches, things like that sometimes. So you need to make sure that your website is mobile friendly. And kind of an old-fashioned way is even to make like a mobile version of the site. So if you're on a mobile device, it'll serve up the mobile version. But really what you want, it's called mobile responsive. And responsive means it's actually going to resize here. So you can see your website's actually larger, everything's centered better so you can read it easier. The side navigation's turned into this. And like the software I use, Squarespace, they'll make like, 7 or 8 different sizes of your pictures, and it'll serve a different one depending on what you're using. I don't even know how that works, to be honest with you. I just make sure I use a tool that's going to do that for me. So just make sure that your website is mobile responsive. And it's a couple ways to check. One is just to look on your device, which is good. You definitely want to do that. But also remember, it might look okay for you, but not for somebody else. So there's also a tool from Google. It's free. And it'll tell you if your site is mobile friendly. It even takes screenshots and everything and shows you what it looks like. So that's the address, which might be hard to remember, but you can just Google mobile friendly page on Google and it should come up for you. And uh-oh. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second here. Well, I do pay for the fast internet, but I'm not sure.
Excuse me, can you tell us what the name of that Google test mobile friendly website is? Did somebody write it down by chance?
Yeah, you could, if you just go to Google and type in mobile speed tests, it should come up.
What do you say, Michael? Mobile something test. I didn't hear it clear.
Mobile friendly tests.
Oh, okay. That's mobile friendly test.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, so going back, I was just kidding with you guys. That's not real. That's just a slide. It's just loading. So the idea is it's the slow loader, and man, it's really kind of awkward and uncomfortable sitting here, and I don't know how frustrated you guys are getting, but that's the idea on your website. You don't want it to be slow. You want to make sure it loads quickly. And also Google looks at that as well. They want to see how fast your website is. So again, you could write that down if you want, but I would just Google page speed test from Google. Just go into Google and type in page speed test, and it'll tell you, you'll put in your website address, and it'll tell you how fast your website is. So you want it at 100, obviously. Down here would be in the red, and a slower website. So that's a frustrating experience for the people visiting your website for it to be slow. But also Google doesn't like that. And it's going to hurt your SEO. They're going to rank you lower if your page is not fast. So a couple of the things that tend to slow down your website are images that are too large, because on the screens, you don't need like a really high resolution image. And our phones tend to take, especially if you're using pictures from your phone, they're going to be really high resolution, several megabytes. You don't need that size image on your site. So you can reduce those image sizes. And the other thing are having scripts or things embedded, like YouTube, for example. If you put a YouTube video on your website and someone comes to your site, it's got to go from your site to YouTube and come back. So that's something that tends to slow it down. So you got to weigh that out too, because I'm not saying don't put anything like that on your site, but you might want to know, hey, why is my site being slow? But also, if you use this tool, they'll tell you. They actually list out all the things they think are slowing down your website. So pretty cool, and that's free, and the mobile friendly tool are free as well, is free as well. All right, the welcome mat. You don't need to say welcome on your homepage. That's very 90s, I would say. And you're probably not going to see these on professional website. You're going to see them more on, kind of homemade websites. And look at this is prime real estate. This is what we call above the fold content. Comes from the newspaper terminology. But they're saying welcome to the family of dealerships, which I don't think is grammatically correct either. This is where, if you remember on my site, I say, this is what I do, this is what I want you to do, like call to action. So you don't need to put welcome on your homepage. And this is similar, this is something else we don't really need anymore, is the homer or the homepage. You don't need to put home on your website. And that kind of went away about 20 years ago, but it's really not necessary. So again, you can unmute and just, how do you get to a homepage on a website? What do you do? What do you click on?
I'm always looking for the word that says homepage
Really? Okay.
to make sure I'm back at the beginning.
Got you. Okay. Anybody want to help out, Angelia, how you would get to the homepage?
I would say the brand icon, like most people are writing in, just their logo, the picture of
Yes,
whatever.
Dora, you're exactly right. Yeah. So it's kind of become natural now that you top left logo, click on that, you're going to go to the homepage. Okay. And so you got that, Angelia. If nothing else, you won't be lost anymore. If you need to get back to the homepage, you can always click on the logo. Unless it's a really poor designed website, that should take you back to the homepage. But think of like if you're on Amazon or you're on Apple, it doesn't say home. Any big company is not going to put home on their page. You click on the logo to get back where you're supposed to go. So it could be a waste of space. Now this site doesn't have a lot of navigation, but typically I'm struggling with clients you need to reduce your top level navigation. So even my website, I have a few thousand pages. I have 5 things in my top level navigation that you can go to. Because you want to control the experience. You really want to try to move people to your call to action. You don't want them just going all over the place, looking around your site. That's not what you want them to do. Maybe they want to do that. But that's not what you want to do. And you really want to control that experience. So a way to make some extra room for most people is to take that off if they have it. Okay, pardon the interruption. I'm gonna let you finish. And that's just don't autoplay videos or sounds. So if you're like me, you've come across this and you're like, where is that coming from? It's a commercial or it's music or something else. You're not even sure. You got a bunch of tabs open. I do know that most of the browsers now will have like a little speaker setting there, so at least the tab that the sound is coming from. But sometimes it's some weird place on the page. Just you don't want to autoplay things, or even you've got a great video. Well, I want to make sure it's playing. Well, maybe they're not even looking at it yet, and it's already started playing. So you want to let people visiting your site control the experience. Let them press the play button to watch a video or to listen to some kind of sound. All right. So another way to ruin your website is with grandiloquent navigation. Does anybody know what grandiloquent means without Googling it? Just off the top of their head? It's okay if you don't, because what it means is you're not smart. So the idea here is we don't want to put things on our website in the navigation that people aren't going to understand. That's kind of like an inside thing. We don't want to make people feel stupid, right? when they come to our website. So this is when I found TAC Media Home. Okay, so we already talked about that. Digital services, that makes sense. Services, yeah, I get that. TAC Buzz, not sure. I could guess that might be some news or something, maybe some bees. And then I am TAC. What's going to happen when I click on that? Nobody knows. I don't know. You don't know. So you don't want people to feel like they're an outsider when they come to your website or they don't understand things. And you never want to make people guess what's going to happen when they click on something, because most likely they're going to be disappointed because what they were picturing is not going to be what you're putting there. So make your navigation clear and simple. I even say people put about us, just put about, shorter, clearer. Just make your navigation really simple, help people get to where they're going. And then there's the rabbit hole. So hopefully you guys have not had to do this like I have in the past. If you've been to the unemployment website, it is an absolute nightmare. All these links, well, here's kind of a button that just says COVID-19 resources. All these links go to places with more pages like this with copy and more links. So when I come to the unemployment website, it's probably because I need unemployment. I need to apply for unemployment. Good luck finding it. All this does is take you to other pages with more links and more information, no way to actually apply for it. So I figured it out eventually. I don't know how I got there. I couldn't even tell you, but very frustrating. So just kind of be thinking of that as you design your site. Don't just circle around more and more information. And also, you don't really want to have any dead ends on your site either, even if it's a blog post. Tell people what to do next. Well, you like this blog post? Read my book, or watch my video, or book an appointment with me. You want to take them to that next step. You always want to lead them down the path to your main call to action. So hopefully you're making some money from your website. So you're not mad you paid somebody like me to build it. You want to get paid back for the money that you put into it. All right, so finally, Hackett has kitty bitties? Yes, you can. Again, I'm picking on this website again. You can see they've put in their main navigation, and this is where we talked about should be our primary call to action, links to their social media accounts. So you've done all this hard work of getting traffic to your website. You've been going to networking meetings, or you've been sending out your email newsletter, or maybe even paid for Google ads to get traffic to your website. And what's the first thing you tell them to do when they come to your website? Go to Facebook, Twitter, X, and YouTube, where they're going to go down a different kind of rabbit hole, be distracted, probably never remember they're on your website. So you don't want to send people to social media to all these distractions. Where you're going to make money, hopefully, and convert people is on your website. So social media is great for sending people to your website, but you don't want to send people from your website to your social media. So should you put social media on your website at all? Yeah, in your footer. So Coca-Cola, I think they're pretty good at marketing. They're smart enough. This is the footer. I just screenshot the bottom. This is the footer of their website. Because as people are looking for that, they've scrolled through your whole website. It's fine to have it in your footer. It's part of your contact information. Obviously, they didn't see what they're looking for anywhere else, so that's fine to show them where your social accounts are. And this kind of upsets me too. This is very common, especially in WordPress templates. They build a template with the social media up there. So people that don't know any better, they're just using a template and they're putting in their social media right there. So not cool. But you guys aren't going to do that. All right, so believe it or not, we went through 17 ways to ruin your website. I know that was really quick. Some of you are saying more. I need 17 more ways not to ruin my website and how to avoid them. So I actually have another presentation with 17 more ways. Can you believe it? There's actually more. So if you want to watch that, it's on my website, or if you have a group you'd like me to speak to, I can do that as well. You can also get that book on my website for free. how to create a good website from the start instead of possibly ruining it. And like I said, I do the free website audit. So if you have a website already, which most people do, I'll take a look, give you some recommendations on how you can improve it.